There was so much talk that they don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like it.
You did it.
No. Okay,
yes, you did.
Find the clips.
Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan.
Find the clips.
You said he's taking horse dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it.
No,
I'll go find
first
the
of all,
clip.
you just saw the clips.
I watched
I'm
it.
not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But
No. The
here's
clip
point.
I'm talking about wasn't on there, and it's absolutely there. Here, do we have it? Hold on. Let's play the clip.
Go ahead.
Injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to.
Oh, my God.
What person? You know, you talk about, like, cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer, really?
They are shaming themselves.
That's
no one
what it
has
is.
to shame them. They're shaming themselves.
So you're taking a dewormer right now.
This
Chris, you can't apologize for that. You weren't being clear that it was this, and you know that, dude. You're being so dishonest right now, man.
I'm not being
You were
dishonest.
talking about ivermectin, the drug. You were not talking about this version of ivermectin. Come on, man.
All right, folks. Well, since our past couple videos have been entirely about the Donald Trump conviction, I figure we might as well take a break today to talk about this Dave Smith, Chris Cuomo debate that was hosted last Friday by Patrick Bet David. And what is the significance there? Well, if you've listened to Chris Cuomo lately, he's seemingly been walking back a lot of the things he said during COVID-19. And you may say at first glance, okay, good for him. I mean, he was wrong about a lot of things. He certainly supported a tyrannical regime, but it's better late than never to admit that you were wrong. Except the issue is Cuomo, even though he's now saying a lot of things that may agree with more conservatives on COVID and COVID accountability and all that stuff, he refuses to admit that he actually said anything wrong back in the day. And even worse, he's essentially rewriting the history of what he said. Because if you remember back to 2020, he was in lockstep with Fauci and the medical establishment about all this stuff. And you remember the video of him walking up through the basement and all that drama. And he's now basically, every time people try to confront him and say, oh, have you changed your stance? Oh, do you admit you were wrong now? He basically says, no, actually, this thing that I clearly said back in 2020, fully supporting the lockdowns, the masks, the vax, everything, I just never said it. And now recently, Dave Smith, who's kind of a rising libertarian hotshot, calls him out during this debate. And folks, just to spoil a little bit of it for you here today, it is brutal, okay? Unfortunately, we don't have time to react to the full 3-hour debate in this video, but I will tell you this. Dave Smith absolutely rips Chris Cuomo apart for his COVID hypocrisy and points out his past the entire time, and we'll react to some of it here today. It was hard to even figure out which clips I should react to because genuinely there is so much, but we will start here. So one of the big things that people have been calling out Chris Cuomo for lately is he recently admitted that his doctor has prescribed him ivermectin. And why is that significant? Because Chris Cuomo's the same guy who trashed Joe Rogan back in the day for him saying he was taking ivermectin. And so now Chris is taking it and people are saying, well, wait a minute. So you trashed Joe Rogan, but now you're taking it. But now Chris is, instead of just saying, I was wrong, ivermectin is not a horse dewormer, quote unquote, instead he plays these mental gymnastics to try to say, no, I never said that, blah, blah, blah. And Dave Smith calls him out here. PBD plays a clip and it's just absolutely brutal. So check it out. We'll start with this.
Last month on Pat's show about ivermectin, Joe Rogan was saying that, and you were smearing him for saying that. You literally said he's taking horse dewormer. He should be ashamed of himself. You pleaded with your audience to not take it. Then you come back around and you go, hey, Pat, you know what I just found out? Turns out this thing isn't for animals. It turns out humans are. But Chris, that's a 5-minute Google search and you would have known that.
First of all,
how do you not apologize to Joe Rogan?
Listen, do you know who disagrees with you? Do you know who disagrees with you? The people who make ivermectin disagree with you.
Hold on. What do they disagree with me about?
That the drug should not be taken as a standalone for COVID-19.
I never said it should.
That's what Rogan was saying.
No. He did not. No, listen. See, this is the thing, Chris. That is a lie. That is a blatant lie. Joe Rogan. So you just pretended that I said it's a standalone for COVID. No. Here's what it always was. Here's what Joe Rogan said. My doctor prescribed it to me. along with several other medications, just like your doctor prescribed it to you. That's what he said. What I'm saying is that it's not horse dewormer, as you and everybody else at CNN mindlessly repeated.
Now,
what he said, no, let me finish.
Go ahead.
What he said, and what I'm saying is that it is a medicine that's been prescribed to people millions and I think billions of times, and it was totally demonized. Why? You already said why. You said it 2 years too late, but you already said why.
No, here's
because
why.
No one owned it.
Here's why. What Pat has on his desk right now, you do not want to take, okay? It is the veterinary grade ivermectin. People were so desperate to get it because they were told it was a panacea. It was a cure-all.
Who told them that?
It was online.
Okay, but just to be clear, nobody back during 2021 or so was saying you should take the veterinary grade ivermectin that's meant for the horses. I mean, who in the world was saying that? And you may point out, oh, well, some stupid people did that. Okay, well, they're stupid. You shouldn't take doses of medicine meant for animals, obviously. But as you'll see here coming up, Chris Cuomo never made that clarification. He blanketly attacked ivermectin, even the one that was meant for humans, and he attacked Joe Rogan for taking the one that was prescribed to him meant for humans, and he just refuses to admit it.
You just claimed Joe Rogan said it, you claimed I said it, neither of us have said that.
But, so hold on, so why was there a rush on ivermectin all of a sudden?
Can I tell you my honest opinion about that? Okay, it's that the medical establishment and the corporate media so humiliated themselves that they lost trust with the entire American people. And then, yeah, there were some charlatans online who were saying, oh, go take this, and they trusted them.
Please, here's what happened. Okay?
If you think Joe Rogan said, take any form of ivermectin you can get, and you'll never get COVID.
I'm not blaming Rogan. Here's what happened.
You should be apologizing to him.
And again, listen. Listen, here's what happened. Here's what happened. Also, let me tell you why I think apologies in this context are a stunt, okay? We don't accept apologies. Nobody accepts apologies except as an admission that you weaponize. That's why Trump never apologizes. He's right.
Now, in fairness, I do understand what Chris Cuomo is saying there. The whole apology circuit is obviously kind of like a stunt. Yeah, he's right about that. However, it's not that hard to A, just admit to what you said in the past, and B, just say you were wrong. You don't even have to say, sorry, I was wrong. You could just say, yeah, I was wrong. I've changed my mind. Leave it. Okay. And people will say what they'll say, but whatever, that's genuine. But trying to still defend what you said in the past, even though it was wrong, that's not genuine. And B, trying to rewrite the history of what you said, also not genuine.
Because if you apologize, everybody just beats you over the head with.
Trump's got a lot to apologize for, and so do you.
I'm just saying, as a concept, and you should too on this, and I'll tell you why.
What should I apologize for?
Here's what happened. Ivermectin, it wasn't because the media said don't take it, so everyone took it. The media would have never been talking about it unless people were taking it. Use your head. So here's what happens. They're prescribing it like crazy. They actually stop physicians from being able to prescribe it, which I think was a mistake. They then start giving out veterinary grade ivermectin, which, as the word would suggest, you shouldn't take, right?
Because doctors were prescribing veterinary?
No, people were desperately trying to get it online. They couldn't find it. Okay. Ivermectin is the most studied potential treatment for COVID of all of them, which was a complete waste of money. And it was all done just to play on the politics of this. Merck, that made ivermectin, put out a statement during this saying, we do not advise it to be used for COVID-19. You can't find research that proves that ivermectin is effective in treating COVID-19. Rob can find you 100 studies, right? Listen, you're wrong on this.
No, why are you taking it
Here's
then?
why. My doctor, I didn't take it during COVID-19. And I didn't take hydroxychloroquine when I was sick with COVID-19, even though a lot of people thought they were being nice by sending it to me. Why? Because the research isn't there. That's why. With long COVID, okay? Not long vax, that's a different thing. If it's going to get recognized as such, I don't know. But my doctor, I believe, is in the vanguard of people who are figuring out long COVID. Okay. And she has a lot of the same problems, by the way, with me and with the pandemic that you do. And she has found research, and she has had her own experience in using it in a combination with many other things where she believes it may be able to help. Now, I've been taking it. I don't feel any better. Does that mean it doesn't work? No. But
But it's
that's
safe.
why I'm taking it.
It's safe and it's not horse
It is
paste.
definitely.
Exactly, and I think that's the important point here. I don't know who back then was saying that ivermectin was a cure-all for COVID, but the point is that when prescribed by a doctor and not the veterinary grade, obviously, it is a safe drug to take, and for some people it works and some people it doesn't work necessarily, right? And that's how a lot of medicines work. Sometimes you give someone this treatment, it works out for them. Another person, you have to give a different treatment. Medicine's not universal. Certain people's bodies react differently to certain drugs, and that's fine. The point being raised here is that when Joe Rogan went out, if you'll remember a couple years ago, and said that he took ivermectin, the media didn't say that. The media wasn't going out, including Chris Cuomo, by the way. They were not going out and saying, it might work for you, it's a safe drug to take, but, be careful because it might not cure it entirely, blah, blah, blah. No, they were saying, ivermectin is dangerous. It's horse dewormer. Chris Cuomo himself even said it. And the media created such a scare of it that for a while, a lot of physicians were actually blocked from even prescribing ivermectin because of the politics. And when you consider how evil that is, because again, I'm not saying ivermectin is the perfect cure for COVID, but it might have helped someone. It might have worked for someone. The fact that patients out there, some of whom may have died from COVID, were denied even the chance to try it because of the politics, that is something that Chris Cuomo played into. He refuses to admit it, and here he goes again with the mental gymnastics, just claiming he said things that he never said. But I know I've been talking it up. Eventually here we will get to a point where PBD shows the world what Chris Cuomo said about ivermectin back then, and you'll see he's basically just lying through his teeth, pretending he never said the things he said back in the day. Check it out.
But it's not horse paste because it's not horse paste.
But
that is horse paste.
By the way, no one ever at CNN during this time, when they were all saying it's horse dewormer, everyone was repeating, no one ever said, we're talking about the veterinarian ivermectin. That's because we're not talking about the ivermectin that doctors prescribe. Right. No one ever said that. But listen, you told me I should apologize. So what do you think I should apologize for? And then I'll tell you what I think you should apologize for.
I know what you think I should apologize for. Obviously, there was so much talk that they don't want you to take ivermectin. Ivermectin is the way to go. Take it. Joe Rogan got better from ivermectin. And by the way, I don't like what people did to Joe Rogan about ivermectin. I don't like it. You
did it.
No. Okay,
yes, you did.
Find the clips.
Dude, find the clips. You shamed Joe Rogan.
Find the clips.
You said he's taking horse dewormer. You and Don Lemon were chuckling at each other about it. I'll go find the clips.
First of all, you just saw the clips. I'm not chuckling. I'm listening to Don. But
no. The clip I'm talking about wasn't on there, and it's absolutely there. Here, do we have it? Hold on, let's play the clip.
Injecting drugs for animals and horse.
And people telling them to.
Oh my God.
What person? You talk about cancel culture and who to shame. Ivermectin, a dewormer. Really?
They are shaming themselves.
That's what it is.
They're shaming themselves.
So you're taking a dewormer right now. You can't apologize for that. You weren't being clear that it was this, and you know that, dude. You're being so dishonest right now, man.
I'm not being
dishonest. Talking about ivermectin, the drug. You were not talking about this version of ivermectin. Come on, man.
I was responding to a situation where we were told that this is what people were searching out to take, and nobody knew what it was going to do to them.
I guess this is what happens when politics runs so deeply in your family blood as it does for Chris Cuomo, because the mental gymnastics there are just ridiculous. Okay, if you watch that clip, you listen to what he was saying, you watch all of the past coverage at CNN, as Dave Smith there points out, nowhere once did they stop to make a clarification. Hey, ivermectin for humans is safe to take if prescribed by your doctor, but, make sure you don't just buy the veterinary one. No, they were just saying that it was a horse dewormer, and you saw that there in the clip. But, Chris Cuomo's now trying to do these little mental gymnastics. He's trying to do the flippy do, much like a politician. I think he really takes after his brother and his father there, trying to say, no, I was talking only about the veterinary stuff. I mean, obviously, not the one prescribed. No, you weren't. Okay, it's pretty obvious there. No, you weren't. And if you were, maybe you would have tried to clarify that at some point, but do all the digging. Will you ever find a clip of Chris Cuomo back then at CNN clarifying, I'm only talking about the one meant for horses, you can take a human dose? No. Okay, it does not exist, but here we go. Chris Cuomo just trying to get out of it. Dude, just say you were wrong. I was wrong about ivermectin. Boom. You don't want to say sorry. You don't want to apologize. Fine. Don't apologize for it. Just say, I was wrong. I have a different opinion now. No, instead, he keeps doing this thing. I don't know if it's his pride, his ego. He just refuses to admit that he actually said these things back in the day. It's like, Chris, you're not running for office, okay? You are a media figure on NewsNation and now sometimes Valuetainment. It's not that deep. You can say you were wrong. It's fine. But instead, he just keeps digging in this hole, and it gets deeper and deeper, and it's just a mess. And then he wonders why the left doesn't like him, because he now kind of calls out some of that stuff, but the right doesn't like him either, because the right is saying, well, but why can't you admit you were wrong? I don't know.
I'm taking the drug right now. Obviously, I don't think it's all poison. I stopped calling it the horse drug when, and you can not like it, CNN's chief medical officer, who is Sanjay Gupta, said to me, you shouldn't just call it a horse dewormer. There's a whole legitimate aspect of the drug. I wouldn't use it for COVID-19, but it's not just a veterinary grade. So I stopped calling it that.
So, okay.
And then it went away.
By the way, I don't know if you guys saw this. One of the best moments during the pandemic was when Dr. Gupta, who was just mentioned, went on Joe Rogan's podcast. For all the days of CNN like demonizing Joe Rogan, they send their top doctor out there onto his show, and he goes, why is everyone on your network saying I'm taking horse dewormer? Ivermectin's not. And Dr. Gupta looked down at his lap and went, yeah, no, they shouldn't be saying that.
Well, Sanjay was the one who corrected
there was
us.
a better,
Sanjay was the one who corrected us.
No, actually, after that, he went back and laughed as Don Lemon called it horse dewormer again, and then I guess later corrected you guys. But then there was a moment, and this was the best moment, and you got to remember the context of this. This was during the vaccine passports. Okay? The point when the people like me, and I'm sure a lot of you, were basically turned into second-class citizens, weren't allowed to go into restaurants, weren't allowed to go to sporting events, weren't allowed to go into a lot of different office buildings, things like that, and you, personally, along with everyone at CNN, cheered that on. You mused and joked around when you were interviewing Dr. Fauci about what rights the unvaccinated should have. So Dr. Gupta goes to Joe Rogan and says, it is in the middle of all this. He goes, so are you going to get the vaccine? And Joe goes, no, I just had COVID. Why would I get it? I got natural immunity. And Dr. Gupta went, yeah, that's a good point. He had nothing for him.
First of all,
he had no response.
It's
just like when you were, listen.
That's not even close to accurate. Okay?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, let's not forget that back then when vaccine mandates were being forced on everyone, you didn't have a choice based on natural immunity or whatever. They just said, you have to take it. And then, well, we saw what happened there. So just to be clear about that.
You weren't right about that,
Chris, dude, you're in denial here, man. It's so clear that you said that. Just admit it, man, and we can move on.
Again, here's the main difference. You may not say it this way, but this is what I think you're suggesting. You believe that you were demonized for not taking the vaccine, and that was wrong because it was right to not take the vaccine. Okay?
No. First of all, I don't believe I was demonized for taking the vaccine. We just played video proof of it. Me, and it's not me, it's me and tens of millions of Americans were demonized to take the vaccine.
Yeah, so that basically wraps up the Joe Rogan debate. Again, Chris Cuomo just denying things that he blatantly said. But let's play a little bit more from the rest of this debate, because like I said, literally this destruction of Chris Cuomo, this embarrassment of Chris Cuomo went on for about 2.5 hours, because the rest of the debate, they talked about other stuff, but it's just insanity. So let's react to a little bit more, and then we'll close out today's video.
An apology is when you say something that you shouldn't have said, that was wrong to say, that you said for bad reason, or you're trying to hurt. None of those apply. I hear your understanding of the pandemic. I don't agree. I lived it closer than you in many ways, closer than any of you probably in many ways. And there were absolutely mistakes made. The idea that it was a totalitarian regime, that's hyperbole.
First of all, when I described the lockdowns that swept this nation in 2020 as totalitarian, just to be clear, I'm not being hyperbolic. When you're waking up every morning to watch your TV, to find out from your governor what you're allowed to do today, including, am I allowed to go to work? Am I allowed to have a funeral for my father? Am I allowed to see my family? Am I allowed to step outside without a cover on my face? There is one word and one word only for that, and that is totalitarianism. I'm sorry. That's not slightly hyperbolic. Now, you could argue that this totalitarianism was justified because of the virus, but it is certainly not, and it's not, but you could argue that, but it certainly is totalitarian. The currency that we trade in is the truth. That's the whole currency. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be right about everything, but it has to mean that I really believe what I'm saying. And if I'm lying to the audience, then I've betrayed my most fundamental duty. Right. And I would also put as a subset of lying, if I'm pretending I know something that I don't know at all, and I'm taking a very strong opinion, and with 5 minutes of research, you could find out that this is completely false, that's another form of lying. Now, sir, you have completely shirked all of your responsibility, and now you're pointing the finger at China. By the way, you were one of the people who demonized Donald Trump for calling it the China virus at the time, okay? So when it was convenient for you, you had no problem smearing someone for pointing the finger at China. Your entire network also called everyone racist if we speculated that it came from the lab. During that time, you guys at CNN were just mocking everybody who would dare say it was a lab leak, and then we were unable to defend ourselves, or those who did got their livelihoods ruined.
I don't know what was happening on
me...
YouTube. I just want to be clear.
I call the establishment, you call the establishment, whatever you want to call it. They almost want the season to be gone without there being an accountability on the people that push this stuff to us, whether it's Fauci, whether it's NIH, whether it's CD, whoever you want to put on that. Do you think they quietly want this thing to move on and we focus on other issues that we had?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, clearly they don't actually want to have like a reckoning about any of this. And the thing that, I mean, for me, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room, it's like it makes your blood boil to watch this and kind of relive it and remember that, yeah. And just to think that, right, like you just mentioned the stock of big pharma companies and how much money they were making off of it. Look.
This is Pfizer, by the way. Yeah. Check this out.
It's going pretty good for them. Hey, by the way, did that ever come up on CNN? You think they ever had that graphic up there?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, because the whole point was they were making money. They were also given absolute liability against any suits for the vaccine injuries.
Yeah.
And
pretty corrupt.
And it was a very weird combination of things.
And yet you guys spent every day, all day long, demonizing American people who were skeptical about this, demonizing the people rather than demonizing the powerful.
So
listen, 2000. Listen, hold on. Let me just say for a second.
All right, go ahead.
2020 was the largest transfer of wealth in human history. And it was from the working and middle class in America to the millionaires and billionaire class. You can go look up the data on that. They got richer than ever before.
So you think that's what the vaccine was about?
No, my point is that went completely uncovered by the corporate press. And instead, they were just trying their best because the whole thing was, it was an election year, and you guys, the Russiagate thing had failed. And so this was the new attempt now to ruin Donald Trump and make sure he didn't get reelected.
Okay, so you basically get the idea. Like I said, this entire thing went on for several hours. And so if you're curious, you want to go check out the full thing, it's on the PBD podcast YouTube channel. And I fully encourage you to do so because it is truly entertaining. Okay, it's borderline like the comedy roast of Chris Cuomo, except it's a serious political debate. And he really does it to himself because he can't just admit, yeah, I was wrong. No, he tries to rewrite the entire history. And apparently Chris Cuomo's never said anything wrong in his life, apparently. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, Alpha Moves Only, God bless, have a very great rest of your day, and peace.